This is a Japanese ghost story that once appeared on an internet message board. They call her Hashaku-sama, the 8 shaku woman. Some believe she is only superstition, but others know her voice, the voice that goes. Chapter 1. My father's parents lived about a 2-hour drive away from my house. They were farmers, and I had always liked the calm atmosphere of their countryside home. When I entered high school and got my motorbike, I would often ride there alone during long vacations. In the summer and winter holidays, I would show up unexpectedly, and my grandparents always welcomed me warmly. They would smile and say, "We're so glad you came." The last time I went there was just before I became a senior in high school. That means more than 10 years have already passed since then. It is not that I did not want to go back. It is that I could not go back. And the reason is this story. Chapter 2. It was just after spring break began. The weather was fine, so I decided to take my bike to Grandpa's house. Although the air was still cold, the veranda, the wooden ingawa, was warm in the sunshine. I sat there for a while, enjoying the comfort. Then suddenly I heard a strange sound. It was not mechanical. It sounded like a human voice. A strange tone somewhere between voiced and half-voiced. I looked toward the yard. On top of the hedge, I saw a hat moving sideways. When it reached a gap in the hedge, I realized it was worn by a woman. She was dressed in a white one-piece dress, but the hedge is 2 meters tall, and yet her head rose above it. How tall could this woman possibly be? I blinked and she vanished. The hat was gone. The strange sound had stopped as well. I told myself it must have been a tall woman wearing thick platform shoes, or perhaps a tall man in disguise. Chapter 3. Later, while drinking tea in the living room, I told my grandparents what I had seen. "I just saw a tall woman." "Maybe a man cross-dressing," I said. They only responded with, I see." But when I added, "She was taller than the hedge. She wore a hat, and she was making a strange Popopo sound," both of them froze. They stopped moving completely. Grandpa leaned forward, his face stern. "When did you see her?" "Where? How much taller than the hedge?" His questions came at me quickly, one after another. When I answered, he stood up, went into the hallway, and shut the sliding door. I could hear him making a phone call, but I could not tell what he said. Grandma sat trembling slightly, her hands shaking. When Grandpa returned, he said, "You must stay here tonight. No, you cannot be allowed to go home now." My heart pounded. Had I done something terribly wrong? But the woman had appeared by herself. It was not my fault. Grandpa then said, "Stay here. I will fetch Kei-san." He left in his truck. Grandma whispered, her voice trembling, "You have been marked by Hasshaku-sama. Don't worry, Grandpa will handle it." And she began to tell me the truth. Chapter 4. In this region, there exists something dreadful. It is called Hasshaku-sama. She appears as a tall woman As her name suggests, she is 8 shaku tall, about 2.4 meters. Her appearance changes. Sometimes she looks like a young woman in morning clothes, sometimes like an old woman in formal kimono, sometimes like a middle-aged woman in work clothes, but always she is abnormally tall. Always she wears something on her head, and always she makes that sound. Long ago, some say she followed travelers, but now she is sealed inside this district. At the borders of the village, 4 guardian statues, Jizo, were placed to block her movement. North, south, east, and west. If she charms you, within a few days she will take your life. The last victim had been 15 years ago. Even after hearing this, it did not feel real. But then Grandpa returned, bringing an old woman, Kei-san. Chapter 5. It is serious, Kei-san said. Keep this with you. She handed me a paper talisman. Grandpa and Kei-san led me upstairs. The room they prepared was unsettling. The windows were covered with newspaper. On top of that, talismans were pasted. In the 4 corners, salt was piled. On a small wooden stand sat a Buddha statue, and there were 2 chamber pots placed there. Grandpa's voice was stern. Listen carefully. Until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, do not leave this room. We will not call you. We will not speak. No matter what you hear, do not leave. At 7 you may come out. Kei-san added, keep the talisman on your body at all times. If something happens, pray before the Buddha. I nodded silently, fear rising inside me. Chapter 6. I tried to watch television, but I could not concentrate. I curled up in the futon, trembling. At around 1 o'clock in the morning, I awoke. A sound was tapping softly on the window. It was not pebbles. It was like a hand, lightly knocking. I told myself it was the wind. I turned up the volume of the television. Then from the door I heard Grandpa's voice.
Are you all right? You don't have to force yourself.
I almost approached the door, but then I remembered his warning. Again the voice came.
You can come here.
It sounded like Grandpa, but it was not him. The salt mound in the corner had turned black. I rushed to the Buddha, clutching the talisman, whispering, please save me. Then the voice came again. The window shook as if long arms were reaching up to knock on the glass. I could do nothing but pray. Chapter 7. Morning finally came. The tapping had stopped. The television now showed the morning news. I opened the door slowly. Grandma and Kei-san were waiting, tears of relief in their eyes. Outside, a 9-seater van was waiting. They seated me in the center of the middle row, surrounded by relatives. Kei-san sat in the front seat. A man beside me said, keep your eyes closed and your head down. We cannot see her, but you might. The convoy began to move. Grandpa's truck in front, our van in the middle, my father's car behind. The vehicles crawled slowly, no faster than 20 kilometers per hour. Kei-san whispered, this is the crucial part, and began chanting. Then I heard it again. I clutched the talisman and peeked, just a sliver. I saw a white dress keeping pace with the van. Her head was above the window frame. Then she lowered her head as if to look inside. I gasped. "Don't look!" the man beside me snapped. I shut my eyes tight. Knocking sounds struck the glass. Talk, talk, talk. Others in the van groaned, reacting to the sound. Keisan's chanting grew stronger, faster. Then all at once the noise stopped. "We have slipped past," she said. The talisman in my hand had turned dark. She gave me another. "Keep this for a while." Chapter 8. On the way home, my father told me the truth. When he was a child, one of his friends had been taken by Hasshaku-sama. Another had survived only by moving away. All the men in the van had been relatives, distant but bound by blood. They surrounded me to confuse her gaze. If it came to it, Grandpa or my father would have acted as decoy. Later, I asked Grandpa if he had called to me during the night. He swore he had not. I already knew the answer. Hasshaku-sama preys on the young. She mimics the voices of those closest to them. Chapter 9. 10 years passed. I began to forget that night. But one day, Grandma called. "One of the Jizo statues sealing Hasshaku-sama has been destroyed, the one on the road that leads to your house." I told myself it must be superstition, and yet deep inside I was afraid, because sometimes when the wind is still, I seem to hear it, that voice.
Popopo.
This is the story of Hasshaku-sama, the 8-shaku woman. If you hear her voice, do not answer, do not look, and never follow.